Okay, the last thing I wanted to show for error handling, and I didn't put this on the slides because it actually doesn't have anything to really do with APIs specifically, but it has everything to do with Node, so I wanted to talk about it, which is, we talked about handling errors inside of Express. What if you have an error outside of Express, but in Node, not in Handler? Well, it'll just break, so you can try to catch it, right? If you just throw an error, you saw it through an error at the top of that file, I ran the file, it broke. Okay, you can just try to catch that. But for an asynchronous error that happens somewhere later in your app that's not in Express, how do you handle that? Well, you can get away with, you can use something called process. So it's a really good intro to process. I'll make another file here called error.js. I'm going to do a set timeout for like 300 milliseconds, and I'm going to throw an error. And I'm going to say, oops, okay. I'm going to throw that error, and then I'm just going to run this file. So let's see what happens. Node error.js, some 300 seconds, and then boom, it says oops. Okay. We didn't handle the error because it's asynchronous, but what you can do is you can use this built-in thing called process that's built into Node. And if you don't have any experience with operating system level environments or languages like Node.js or Python or anything that you can run in the terminal, basically, there's a thing called process, right? Process is an object, at least in JavaScript, that represents this, the current process in which you're in, the file system, the current file, all the variables, the secrets, every piece of metadata associated with the process you're in, the hardware you're on, the capabilities of that hardware, everything, IP address, things like that. So the process object in Node has a bunch of stuff on it. I mean, if you just hit dot and scroll through it, yeah, I'm still scrolling. It's like an infinite scroll. So you can do process.on or on unhandled or process.on and then uncaught exception or unhandled rejection. So process.on is basically like an event handler, so you can listen for certain things. Uncaught exception is like, oh, there was an error that was thrown that no one caught. I can handle it here. And then the same is true for something asynchronous. I can say for an uncaught rejection, which is like an asynchronous error that's happening in a promise, I can handle it here as well. So if something breaks, sometimes you'll see an error in Node and be like, oh, this errored out, unhandled rejection. I don't know what the error is, I just know that it did error because it's asynchronous. I don't know what it is, but it broke. You would put this in your app somewhere to catch it. Like at the top of the index file or something like that, just to register this. And this has nothing to do with Express. This is just catching stuff in Node.